Yeah, everyone, Jason here, Robert Mowers, Australia. Today we finally got our hands on an actual Luba 2. So this one's actually real, it's here. It's one of the first ones in Australia. Obviously there's only two Luba 2s actually in Australia right now, and they're both actually owned by the distributor. They're not actually owned by any of the dealers. This one's not mine, it's actually theirs. And it's already actually been out and been running at a trial already. So I'm not going to do an unboxing video, probably because I can't, but I'm not going to do an unboxing video. There's plenty of unboxing videos online at the moment. You can find them just about anywhere, but I will run through just all the parts, and then I just want to sort of confirm the changes between Luba 2 and Luba 1, and show you a couple of things up nice and close that have changed that I wasn't really quite aware of. I knew there were some little changes happening, but now that we've got it in our hands, we can have a much closer look. So look, firstly I'll use my phone here and bring it up on the screen here. The accessories that actually come with Luba. Now everything that's in this right now is exactly what you'll receive if you buy a Luba 2 in Australia. Nothing on the table here will be any different whatsoever. So we'll start with just the cords and the power supplies. So you've got your main power supply here with an Australian plug on the end, no problems at all. Same power supply as what you would have received in a Luba 1 if you happen to have bought one. There's a 10-meter power cable extension for that, which takes it back to the base station, which is pretty much identical to Luba 1. There's really very little difference between the Luba 1 and Luba 2 base stations. The only difference you're actually going to see is the contacts here are a different sort of make up a different material, so they're going to have a bit less, a little bit of heat, little bit less heat on those contacts, and the contacts themselves are just a little bit better than the previous contacts. And then just on that same note, while we're just talking about it, same thing with the contacts on the back of Luba. So the coating on top of the contacts on the back of Luba, they've also been improved. So that's the power supply, power lead, base station, and the contacts there. Then there's also the separate little power supply for the RTK antenna. Again, Australian plug, same power supply as what came in Luba 2, and also the 10-meter cable that for extending from that power supply to the RTK antenna, which is this guy right here beside me. Now, worth noting again that you cannot use the power supply. You cannot plug the power supply directly into the antenna cable on Luba. On Luba 2, you actually must use the 10-meter extension lead if you want to use the extra power supply. If you want to plug it directly into the back of the base station, which you still can, then the cable from the antenna will just go straight back into the base station, exactly the same as what it did for Luba 1. All the other accessories are very standard, again from what we got in Luba 1. You get 6 ground pegs. There's a couple of little caps there for putting the spiked pole into the charging station. 4 little ground pegs for cleaning up your cables and everything around the back of the base station. There's 4 of these little clips here that clip the cable down the pole, so you can clip it down this pole down here, keep everything nice and neat. You still get the pack of 8 blades standard, so if there's any deals going where they're saying you get 3 blades, it's crap. You always get 8 blades with Luba no matter what. But what they have done is they've changed the packaging. So the previous packaging, which if I can see some here, there's one there. So the previous packaging was like this, and honestly, if you drop this packet and it opens up, they go everywhere. So they have changed the way the packet's designed now. It comes with a little cardboard pack now, and also inside that, the pack that's inside that again is quite a lot better than the previous one. So they don't just open up. You do have to tear the little seal off the side there, and it holds together quite tight, these ones. So they really are a much better packet of screws than what they previously were. So I'm hoping that all of our Luba blades moving forward will come like these guys. The keys for the back of Luba, so one spare key, and we also do have the other keys already in the back of Luba. So 2 keys with Luba again, same as Luba 1 again. The cover for the camera, so this cover here, that's what comes on Luba when you first unbox it. You take that cover off to actually fit the camera, which does come loose packed in the box. Not entirely sure why they really have the extra cover on there, because I'm not sure. I'm quite sure that there's going to be very few people that are going to try and use Luba without the camera mounted, but that's just a spare piece there. And the instructions that come along with it, a little bit lighter this time on the instructions, but I quite like it, so I've been through it a little bit. Again, I'll just put it here and show it up on the thing there, so just a little bit, so we'll flick through it very briefly. Safety instructions, just basically everything that comes in Luba, which is fine, it all works very well. All of your manuals, so you're going to scan the manual in and bring the manual up on your phone, which is really good, and get a full manual. But it's got the basic startups here, so fitting the camera, fitting the bumper, putting the key in, setting up, you know, the base station and the RTK. Just roughly, they're not going into any detail here obviously, but it's just a very quick startup guide that runs you through. So if you're reasonably familiar with Luba, that's enough. You can quite easily go through that, and you'd have Luba set up. If you're not so familiar with Luba or with RTK driven robot machines, then you will definitely want to download the manual and have a look at the manual, but everything's a little bit easier than it was in previous models. I'll just throw these other blades back here out of the way. Another little extra that they come through this time is this little tool here. I'll put that on the camera here so you can see that's a little hexagonal headed screwdriver, and it's also changed around to the other side, and it's also got a very small little Phillips head on it as well. If we can get the camera to focus, there we go, little Phillips head on the end there as well. So it's actually quite a decent little tool. It's not actually crap, it's actually pretty good. So you're taking your blades off, changing your blades, you've got a little tool to do it, but probably more importantly is that you have the 2.5 or 3 millimeter, I'm not sure which one it is, but that's the tool that takes the screws in and out for putting your camera on, and also it will also use to take out the middle screws of your blade discs, so you can actually use that tool to swap your discs over. Okay, so quite a good little tool. I think it's going to be really useful, and yeah, assumably if you treat it well, it will last quite okay. The antenna pole, or the RTK base antenna, same pole as previously. Got the triple spike trident on the end of it if you want to stick it into the ground. So that'll go into the ground there, and then the actual antenna pole will screw into that and screw down. So it's reasonably tall again, like the same as the previous one. But the difference really is that this RTK antenna, or base antenna, is far more robust, far more waterproof than Luba 1. It really is a very decent unit. Still got the 915 megahertz antenna for transmitting the radio signal off to the robot, and like I've mentioned in the previous video, you also have the option of putting the 4G SIM card in the robot and connecting this to the Wi-Fi and get more distance, and then you don't necessarily need to transmit over that 915 megahertz. This pole, I had a bit of a question mark myself when it would really come to this pole on whether it actually fixed in position, or whether this could spin. So even if you loosen that right off, you cannot spin it on the pole, which is really good. It's got a little selector in there that actually selects it into the right spot. You can't do anything once it's put in and done up. It's not going anywhere. Really solid connection, and to be honest, I'm actually really impressed with this antenna and the pole. It really is quite good. Cable goes down the center and out the side there, and then down the pole, like I previously mentioned, and then you can put these little clips over the top, and that'll actually keep the cable nice and neat all the way down the pole. That's if you're using the pole. Of course, there is the L-shaped bracket that we don't have here at the moment, and also the solar panel we don't have here at the moment either. But the L-shaped bracket that goes in these guys as well is a specially designed L-shaped bracket that's got this little screw-on connector here, so it screws on properly. So it'll be really good to get our hands on one of those once we get there, once they arrive. But all in all, the antenna is significantly better, and obviously the distance you can cover with the 4G connection is going to be significantly better than what we previously had. So look, the minor changes and things, and look, some of these things are sort of more, they're not quite as minor as you'd expect sometimes, particularly when you've sort of come to us where we've been repairing Luba and everything else, and things that actually do go wrong. They really have thought of most things with this model compared to the Luba one, so it really is good. First thing is the keypad on the top here, so they've gone to a smaller key film type keypad. I think that's going to be great to start with. I have concerns over how the sun's going to treat that keypad, so I really do recommend with Luba 2 that you really do put, probably buy the actual garage cover that you can get for Luba 2 is the best idea, but certainly put some kind of lightweight plastic or very light timber or something roof over the top of Luba to try and protect the sun more than the water, than the rain, from that keypad for as long as possible. And I get that they're going to be out mowing in the sun most of the time anyway, but if you can sort of reduce the sunlight on that keypad, it's probably going to make the robot last a little bit longer. Other minor changes, again, the paddle tires. I'm sure you've seen it on plenty of other videos. The paddle tires definitely have got a little bit more traction. There's no doubt, you can see that just by looking at them, compared to the previous tires that actually had the center ring down through the center there, which sort of took away from the ability of the paddle to actually be able to really get traction. So being that there's no center rib line down here, I think they're really going to dig in quite well. The hub motors, like I mentioned in the previous video, they are a different motor, so they have changed the hub motors to get away from any of the issues that some robots did have in Luba 1. So they've really done well there. And probably for me the most important thing is that all these motors now can be changed out a little bit easier than previous Luba 1 motors, which is going to be great for me and my techs here. The bumper bar, I'll show you a very close up on the bumper bar now. I actually don't have the two little screws that lock the bumping bar in place here, but there's two little screws that go down in the bumper bar there that lock the pins into place. It actually pushes the pins out and locks them into place. But now when I clip that out, so we have a look at that now. So there's now a little cable that comes out that actually plugs in. So there's now actually an actual plug here that if I just put the camera down for a second and I'll just unplug that. So now you can see that there's actually a little plug and a little cable here that actually plugs that in. So definitely going to be better and a bit more water resistant inside the actual pins of the plug than it was previously. So hopefully that's going to work a lot better than Luba 1 did. Although, to be honest, we didn't see in Australia, and we haven't seen in Australia, too many issues with the bumper bar when it comes to Luba 1. It's actually been pretty good indeed, to tell the truth. Nowhere near the issues that we've seen elsewhere in the world where people have complained about those pins in there actually corroding. So we haven't really seen that here in Australia. The rest of the bumper is exactly the same as it was before, so really no difference there at all. The front hub motors don't appear to be very different, but like again, I've been told that the motors inside are different. Obviously the camera system on top, and then when you actually turn Luba on now, you actually also get a little bit of a display at the front there on that front screen there, so that really is quite good to have some kind of indication on the front of Luba. It can give you some kind of status, and there's a lot more sound effects than that coming from Luba, and of course it has voice as well, so it talks to you when it wants to turn off when there's a problem. I'm not familiar with exactly how what all the voices actually say at the moment, but they do. So. What else is there? On top, basically on top, that's sort of really it. We've gone through all the parts. The antenna's all very different. Obviously the processor chip inside that I spoke about in the previous video, that is really the biggest upgrade in this robot, is it's got far more power now to process than what it did before. One thing I've noticed is that lowering the blades, you can no longer lower the blades by pressing the stop and the grass button twice. That you used to be able to do that to lower the blades down. You can no longer do that. That functionality is now gone. It's probably louder, so everything to do with the siren or the buzzer on this guy, it's much louder than it used to be. So you can really hear things when you're actually pressing the buttons now, better than it was before. And like I say, instead of just having that one indication on the front bumper before to see that it's turned on, you now have that indication on the front of Luba.
Suspended in air.
Oh yeah, so that's the lift sensor. So it's gone off. If we just press grass at the start and clear the error.
Luba suspended in air.
Luba suspended in air. So that's the lift sensor.
Luba suspended in air. Luba rollover.
Luba rollover. There we go. So that's it. That one sounds a little bit funny if you ask me, to tell you the truth. I'll just put this upside down here, and I'll get my phone out again so I can see underneath. So the one thing that I was not aware about with Luba 2 is that they've actually put quite a decent angle on this back part here now. So hopefully, because Luba's blades spin, that one spins that way, that one spins that way, and it cuts the grass and pushes it out that way. Hopefully a lot more grass now will actually hit that angle and come off rather than build up on the back and then start building up all the way through the underbody of Luba. Now if I show you very quickly on level 1 here, you'll see that is completely square at the back there, and you can even see grass that's started to build up on this one. It's the first place the grass builds up, it's in that back section there. So hopefully with that angle there, it'll push a lot more of the grass down and out, and hopefully it won't build up as much underneath Luba. But as always, with Robert Lawnmowers Australia here, we will test everything. We'll get this guy out on some big property and on some wet grass, and we'll see how it goes and test it all for you. The other thing that is quite a difference, and it's only again, it's a subtle difference, but it just might make all the difference. Now, how loose the blades are now on the shaft. So the shaft on the blade screw now is much longer, or the shank I should say on the blade is much longer, and there's a lot more flexibility around that blade system and how it spins around. Now, exactly how that's going to go when we get that on some grasses, see if it builds up with grass around the blade screw anymore. Hopefully it's a lot better, but there's definitely a physical change there with the blade screw, or the shank on the blade screw being much longer. The other thing that I've noticed on the machine is that all the screws on the machine, they're definitely a better grade screw than they were on Luba 1. So hopefully when it comes to servicing again, these guys will be just that little bit better to be able to service them. And I've also noticed that there's a lot of markings in that now molded into Luba, telling you not to pressure clean underneath it. And I tell all my customers essentially really not to actually wash under Luba with a hose even. You can, obviously it is an IP 5 or 6X, I've forgotten what it actually is now. So you can hose underneath there, but we highly recommend that you don't. Mostly because of the rubber seals and that are underneath the blade cutting system, because if you do get any damage on those seals, even just hosing underneath there is going to cause you problems. So generally we tell you to lower the blades down and brush Luba out. What else have we got here as far as anything that you may or may not know? I think that's all we're going to do for now. I don't want to sort of make this video very long. Just want to really just inform everyone that we at least now have one that we can test, and we'll be doing so, and we'll bring you some more videos on how we test it. If you've got any questions at all, actually before I even go back to that, if you've got any things that you would actually like us to actually answer for you when it comes to Luba 2, if you've got any questions on anything specific, on testing something, whatever it might be, put it in the comments below. If you haven't already, like and subscribe the video so we can try and get this information out to more people. But like I say, if you've got anything specific you'd like us to test, by all means put it in the comments below. We'll test it and we'll release them in later videos, which is what we really intend to do with Luba 2, is to get some more information out there on the things that people are not showing in the videos, so that you can understand exactly how Luba works in whatever scenario you'd like me to test it under. So that's about it, guys. Any questions, email us if you like at sales@robotlawnmowers.com.au. You can check out all of our socials on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, things like that. And check out our website, www.robotlawnmowers.com.au. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.